After conquering the river Indus and defeating King Porus in 326 BC-CE, Alexander the Great's army pressed on into the Indian subcontinent. The journey into the unknown came at a cost. The soldiers, many of whom had already endured years of grueling campaigns, were weary and increasingly reluctant to venture further and refused to march further east into the land of the unknown. Alexander was forced to turn back. They began their retreat through the desert of Gedrosia, a region notorious for its harsh, unforgiving conditions. The journey through this desert proved to be one of the most devastating episodes in Alexander's military career. The army was unprepared for the severe heat, lack of water, and lack of food. The men had to endure not only physical exhaustion, but also the psychological toll of marching through a barren landscape, seemingly endless and hostile. The trek through Gedrosia was brutal. Many soldiers died from dehydration and starvation, and morale plummeted. It is reported that the harsh conditions led to the loss of a significant portion of his army, 2-3. Alexander's was confronted not by enemy forces, but by the forces of nature and the psychological limits of his own men. The army reached the coast, where they could rest and regroup. The men, some of whom had been campaigning for nearly a decade, had seen their families and homes slip farther and farther from their reach. This moment in history marked the end of Alexander's eastward expansion. While he had planned to continue his conquests into the Arabian Peninsula, this was the point where the will of his soldiers finally prevailed. Alexander, the man who had toppled empires and led his troops through unimaginable hardships, was forced to abandon his dream of reaching the ends of the world. Not just physical exhaustion, but also the limits of military power when faced with the human need for rest, home, and safety. It was a humbling moment for Alexander, who had once been unstoppable.